Good evening, Space Monkeys. Welcome to Political Fight Club. I'm your host, Robert Durden. I'm here with my boy, Ian Berg. We just got done with the debate with Ben. We'll be uploading that momentarily. It's kind of a long file, something like an hour and 15 minutes of debate with Ben and about 10-15 minutes of Ian and I talking shit at the end of it. So we'll get that to you momentarily here. On tonight's show, we're going to talk about Cenk Uygur coming out and basically admitting that Jimmy Dore was right all along. We're going to talk Neera Tanden going down in flames. That's going to be fun. And then bad news, unfortunately, the amendment that Bernie was about to put up for a vote, the Senate had a vote on whether or not they were going to have a vote today on that $15 amendment, and that vote did not go well for the $15 minimum wage amendment. So I'm going to let Ian take it away. As usual, if there's anything I've gone over the last week or so, couple weeks that you want to take your take on, have at it right now.
Yeah, there's been a lot. So I think because we're just doing a short show, because we just did the other ones, I think we'll get to that stuff at another date. First, I wanted to say I'm mad you got a camera, because now everyone can tell how big my forehead is. But yeah, just
nonsense.
All forehead. But yeah, I think the first thing, I think we should just jump into it real quick. And I sent you this video. I saw this on Twitter, actually, and that's Cenk coming out and basically saying a lot of things that other lefties, you and I, have been saying for a while now. Now, I know you have had your issues with the Young Turks as of late because they've kind of moved, espousing more corporate democratic kind of stuff, more like mainstream, less against the grain, less progressive kind of thing. So when I saw this video that Cenk put up, I was really surprised at the things that he was saying. So I sent it to you right away. And so I guess the rest of what we're going to talk about today kind of stems off what his points were. And I honestly don't really disagree with any particular point that he made, which is crazy.
Me either. It's just the problem with me and Cenk, or that Jimmy Dore would have with Cenk right now, is not with what he said in that video. It was good. He said something like, yeah, the squad's not going to go fight for you. The Democrats are not listening to you. You're going to have to scream at the top of your lungs and be mad and be angry and be mean to them. Otherwise, they're not going to do anything. They're showing how spineless they are. And it's like, yeah, Cenk, I agree with that, but we needed this back when Medicare for All was on the banquet table, and you did everything in your power to not be that Cenk you're being right now then. And now that we really don't have much leverage and Medicare for All is dead, you're screaming at the rooftop. So my issue is not with what Cenk is saying. I'm glad he's back on the right side. My problem is where was it when we needed it? And even more importantly, if it wasn't there when we needed it, why should we believe it right now?
Right. Well, I mean, it's also too, we talk about on the show a lot, you want to keep things on topic, you never want to attack the person, yada yada yada. So if you're gonna take him for his ideas, take an ally when you have an ally.
Of course.
Okay. So if Cenk is back more leaning to the progressives, yes, we're happy about that. We like that. The more progressive voices, the better. And now if you're a politician, okay, and say you're running, or you're up for re-election, or you live in a district that's mainly purple, and you're I don't want to go too far left, even though left ideas, minus the labels, poll really well amongst conservatives. Say you're doing that. You might want to keep your mouth shut. Not saying you should. You shouldn't. You should always be principled. But if you're not principled and you're more of a triangulation kind of person, you'll want to keep your mouth shut when there's really important, really polarizing issues like Medicare for All and that kind of thing. But Cenk wasn't in that position, so I don't know why there was this period where he was just mute on a lot of these topics where we needed those loud voices and we needed people to push. Am I happy he's back? Do I hope he continues this trajectory? Absolutely. I can't say why he may have went a little more corporatist. Maybe they were burning
Katzenberg money.
I mean,
Katzenberg cash, man.
It could be, but as his ideas as to what
Sure.
he said, I'm all for it.
Yeah,
I completely agree. And as for Jimmy Dore, sometimes for me, if they wanted to force the vote on Medicare for All, I'm fine with that. Do I think it would have accomplished what they wanted to accomplish? No, not so much. But I think Jimmy Dore also kind of thrives off that I don't want to say leftist infighting, but like getting people right, getting that emotional response.
Yep,
and it gets people going. And so I don't think we should be way too hard on Cenk. It's not like he's ever come out against leftists.
Right, no.
So, I'm just happy that he did post that video. All his points are great. And him and Kyle Kalinske and some others that started Justice Democrats and he even ran, they have the voice of some of the left. So maybe him coming out and saying those things will push them. And like Nina Turner said a while ago, like they're not doing anything, they're like biding their time. But it's time to stop doing that.
Right, and what I said to Cenk on my video where I was doing the allegory about him and the dinosaur was like, listen, either apologize, but I don't even really care that much about an apology, just don't do it again. Like, next time we have a big fight, you better be yelling just like Jimmy. Now, and I don't mean one iota less. Like, you need to be just like what Jimmy was doing. If you could do that, he could wield an enormous amount of power.
Right.
The Young Turks have something like 4.5 million subscribers, and Jimmy Dore has 850,000 subscribers. So if Cenk could be as angry as Jimmy and do exactly the same thing, dude, I'm more than willing to forgive you. Do the right thing in the future. That's all I care about. But don't realize why we're skeptical of you. Like, Medicare for All is gone now, more or less because people like you were not yelling when we needed it. So I'm glad you're back on the right team. Welcome back, but don't act like you didn't abandon us when we really needed it, man. We need you to there in the future, no more.
Literally the only thing, because we don't have lobbyists, we have a few groups, that kind of thing, but literally the only thing the left has is their voices. Getting mad, getting rowdy, making politicians worried, and that's all we have. And if you aren't using a platform where your voice is amplified to push for those, then you're not helping us. So don't be silent when we need you, and then be loud when we don't. But that does bring us to another good thing. There are a few very minor, maybe just like one or two victories that the left has seen recently, and Neera Tanden is one of those. Although, if you go the whole like nuanced deep dive direction, you'll know that it might not be as clean cut as that. But
still makes me happy.
But I will say I am happy that she did not get the nomination. Now, granted, she had a sit down with Lisa Murkowski, and that was basically the swing vote or the deciding vote. If Murkowski decided to vote yes, then the swing vote would have been Bernie. So some people are stipulating that they didn't want to give Bernie that power. I'm not really sure, but regardless, after that meeting, before Murkowski said how they were going to vote, Biden basically dropped that nomination. So I don't really know exactly all that happened, but she would have been abysmal. Abysmal.
There's very few, and then anybody that's making the argument that it's like, oh, well, we should have taken Neera because what we might get beyond her to the right is going to be way worse. No, you can't get way worse than Neera Tanden. You might be able to pick a handful of people who are a little bit worse than her, but I mean, you're splitting hairs on awfulness, and I'm not for that argument. I don't think it's legit. She's not qualified to be head of the OMB, and
she is legitimately just like people having a vote. To have a vote is the perfect characterization of too much red tape and a shitty democracy. Neera Tanden is the perfect personification of what exactly happens when just corruption runs rampant.
Yeah, muddled democracy that never actually gets what's done, what the people want done.
Yep, completely unprincipled.
Corrupt. Very, very. CAP takes donations from every lobbyist group you can think of.
In your face corrupt. Not even trying to hide it corrupt. And then she has the goal when asked, would your, previous donors or corporate, sway your opinion? And she's like, no, it wouldn't. Yes, it
You're
fucking
full of shit.
would.
You're full of shit.
Why on earth does anybody think that anything you think you set them in front of some people, you put a microphone and they're wearing a suit and they look all professional, that they won't come out and lie to your face?
Yeah, I mean, you were telling me earlier that there was an article you were saying that there's a strict correlation between the lobbyist groups giving tons of money, and they can link it directly to specific legislative decisions that
Yes.
they made, so that they've like statistically quantified that there is corruption.
Yes,
So don't act like that doesn't influence you.
So we'll look it up and we'll put it in the thing so you can read all about it. There's been more than one study, but I think the one that I'm recalling, I think it was a Harvard study. Might be wrong. Either way, it'll be in the description. But it came out and they did a study and they showed that what the American people want is basically a 50-50 yes or no, regardless of how popular it is. But what the corporations want, what the lobbyists spend, does influence the votes. And what you learn is ever since they made it to where money is free speech, real voices of the American people do not matter because money is all that matters. And so if you're anybody running and you need that money, you need to campaign, there's a direct correlation between money spent and who wins elections. And then there's a direct correlation between what companies want certain bills passed and how much they spend in lobbying and how possible it is for that to actually go through. Okay. And so what you learn is it doesn't matter if there's an actual vote. Like, you might think, oh, well, there's this person and this person running, so my vote counts. I think everybody should always vote, even if that's only so you have the ability to complain. I think if you don't vote, you don't get to complain. But if you're voting for two people and you think, okay, these are my options, my vote counts. Well, who decides those two people? The money. Because there are these hurdles you have to go through. You have to get through primaries. You have to get through yada, yada, yada. And especially in the presidential, you have to raise a certain amount of money to even be on the debate stage. And so what happens is whoever gets the most money are the ones that get the votes. And so the companies know this. And so that's why we always have to choose between the lesser of two evils. That's why no matter what you want and how bad you want it and how loud you yell, things do not get passed. And that's why when the whole BLM riots started happening and the Antifa thing and yada yada yada, a lot of people came out, oh, it's private. I'm all for it, man. Like, make them know you are mad because what you say doesn't matter to them. Mm-hmm. You don't have. And I don't think you can
really, at this point, with the amount of advertising power that the big corporate interests have, in terms of they can advertise and put ads up for anybody that's centrist or right-wing or whoever they want to. I don't think you can overcome that. Like, I don't think you can make enough and, like, just overcome the amount of money that they can put into the campaigns that they want to. So it's tough. You have to hit the streets. You have to actually make them listen, because you're never going to out-advertise them. And we're watching our screens now, you're never going to beat them on that platform.
And that's one thing we noticed when Bernie was running, both in 2016 and 2020, he raised a lot of money from everyday people. But the problem is, a lot of people also watch these news cycles, CNN, MSNBC, Fox News, and they aren't run by regular people. They're run by big
and they smear Bernie relentlessly for nothing and prop up, puppets, people that are horrible people, even though they shouldn't.
Yep. So Neera Tanden will most likely, because Biden's team came out and straight up said, we're probably
no, she's done probably, I would say. Yeah, but 99% sure.
They were like, we're probably going to give her a position in the cabinet, so, whatever, that might happen. But I will take the small victories where we get them, and this was definitely one of them.
Yes. We'll see who replaces her. It's going to be a wash, but it makes me very happy. No one is a bigger enemy to the left than Neera Tanden.
I also want to say, too, that although they had a vote on a vote and decided not to vote for the $15 minimum wage, yada, 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 I'm very happy. I'm very happy to see that Bernie straight up came out and said he would block it, he wouldn't vote for it, he was going to fight for the $15 minimum wage. I think with Cenk Uygur coming out, with Bernie Sanders coming up saying he's going to fight, with all this pressure behind the left, with Nina Turner hopefully running, when 2 years is up, I'm starting to see that there is a trend that the left is going to start fighting and going to start baring teeth and going to start using their power. At least I hope so, because they need to. And I think maybe small victories like this will give them that push that they need.
Keep up the pressure. Another evidence to your point is that the Ro Khanna and a bunch of the squad, 23 people actually in the House, wrote a letter to the Biden administration basically saying overrule the fucking Senate parliamentarian.
Yeah,
this is bogus. They don't have any legal authority. There's no reason why the American people, 93 million people would get. Don't quote me there. But 900,000 people will be brought out of abject poverty by a $15 minimum wage by itself. And this woman, Elizabeth McDonough, the Senate parliamentarian, has no actual power. None. She's not elected. She's in an advisory role. So that's good. They're fighting. Now, a strongly worded letter, that's fighting for them because they're kind of wimps. But it's signs of life. So I'm going to give credit. I'm not going to applaud you. But yeah, sure. Right. And even Bernie's thing, he knows that he doesn't have the numbers probably, but what is he doing? He's doing what Jimmy wanted to do with the Medicare for All thing. This is what I wanted to see. You have your hit list now. This is the people, now we know, and I'm going to read the names to you right now. These are the Democrats that voted against having a vote on Bernie's $15 amendment. And there's the usual suspects, Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema, Jeannie Shaheen, Maggie Hassan, John Tester, Tom Carper, Chris Coons, Angus King. That's your list. Go after these people and drag them. Get on them, make their lives hell. And Bernie did the right thing here because he knew it probably wouldn't get in and they probably wouldn't even have the vote. But now we know who to primary. We know who's really on board and not. And I wish we could have had a real vote. But this will do. I'll take it. Because again, it gets us the point of like now we know who to whack.
Right. And on top of that too, so what's important is so many people in the U.S. are apolitical. That's why Biden's, numbers are so high right now, because most people don't know the actual shit that he's doing. And so what you have to do is don't even come out, like you don't have to say, oh, we're going to talk politics, because people usually mentally clock out at that. But if you are in a group, if you do know people, just one person that votes, give them that list. Spread the word that these people are against you. And who do you think benefits the most out of canceling the minimum wage increase? Big companies that spend a lot of money on paying their workers. Mm-hmm. Not enough, but they spend money on paying their workers. And so a lot of people say, like, well, if you raise the minimum wage, everything's going to go up, yada, yada, yada. One, it goes up every year regardless. Mm-hmm. Two, inflation, if you really look deep into it, it's not as big of a deal as people like to make it out to be.
Right.
3, every single study shows that when the poor and the lower middle class make more money, the economy goes up.
Yep.
Also, any study that was done linking minimum wage to job growth, because they've jumped up minimum wage in all kinds of places. They're going to do it in Florida soon. They did it in Seattle like overnight. And it's happening. DC. It happened in some other places. And what they found is there's not really any direct correlation between job loss or job growth and minimum wage increase.
True, yeah.
Because what happens is if you are paying your workers very little money, they have very little money to spend, but your company is also spending very little money to pay them. If you have to pay your workers more money, but so does everybody else, your workers have more money to spend, but you're also losing more money to pay them. So it basically breaks even. But the fact is, it still shows a net benefit to workers.
And across the board, if you increase wages and you're running a company, it stands to reason, and this is true, that your company makes more money if you're providing a good product because people have money in their pockets to buy said product.
Right.
And you have to give people expendable income, otherwise no company that produces any product is going to be able to sell anything. So it behooves everybody across the board to increase wages because your company will do well if people have expendable income.
And let's be honest too, because I know we go after the left on this show a lot. So, we should hold them accountable, and we should hold the center Democrats accountable. But we also have to go to the right sometimes. And a lot of these righties, they'll come out and they'll say you can't increase the minimum wage, government's got to stay out of blah, 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 blah. But they also are the ones always championing right-to-work laws, which completely decimate unions.
Yep.
So if you don't want to raise the minimum wage through, legal means, then... but you're for the working man, then you want strong unions. But you're telling me that you don't want to pass a minimum wage to make, people have the lowest line that a company can pay, but you also want to decimate unions. What you're telling me is you're not pro-worker. So all these Republicans coming out and saying they're conservative and they're pro-worker, just like Ted Cruz's abysmal CPAC speech, you're not. Because if
It
you
was
were a
bad.
pro-worker, you would either A, be for a minimum wage increase, or B, be for strong unions. If you're not for either, then who are you benefiting? You're not benefiting anybody but the massive corporations.
Yep, and they don't care about you. Don't get it twisted. They don't give a shit about what happens to any of us. That we're all expendable drones that get their production done.
Oh yeah, and I mean, you can just go through
So
the
why
list.
you would defend like somebody that is ultra wealthy CEO or a corporation is beyond me. Get it through your heads, guys. You have very much more in common with the homeless man sleeping on the street than you do with any billionaire, and ever will with any billionaire. Trust me. Most of you will never be millionaires. None of you are going to be billionaires. Nobody who watches this show is going to be a fucking billionaire. Get it through your heads. It's okay. It's not a big deal. You can take care of your fellow man and live comfortably, and we can all live in harmony, but you have to get it through your heads that you're never going to own a yacht that has a yacht inside of that yacht. And a helipad on top, and that helicopter has a yacht inside of it.
Right, and on top of that too, if you could afford that, why would you be that big of a selfish asshole? And like if I was that, like if I just got that wealthy overnight, like I'd just be running out, just writing everybody checks.
Like, I'm gonna fix this problem. I'm gonna fix this problem.
Right.
There's no more hungry kids, no more school lunch debt, no more homeless people. Everybody's got everybody's got clean water everywhere. Like, I just fix everything. Like, no more bullshit. I'm gonna be Bruce Wayne, but I'm gonna actually fix the city of Gotham rather than giving myself fucking gadgets to try to fight crime.
No, I'd still have gadgets to fight crime.
Yeah, I know.
But
Well,
I'd do
on top
other
of it,
stuff.
but you do other stuff too. Yeah.
But
my point is Batman was selfish.
But that's neither here nor there. All the studies show that increasing the minimum wage is beneficial to workers. So if you do come across somebody that has that argument otherwise, just use those facts. And if they don't listen to those facts, then it's just cognitive dissonance, and nothing you say is going to get through to them.
Yeah, and there are some people you don't want to waste your time with. We just had a great debate with Ben. We'll be uploading that soon. And, he's definitely not a waste of time. He's definitely a smart guy. He's thought about things. So I appreciate the conversation. But there are some people that you have to watch for. If they're just going to throw talking points at you where they're like, and this is a horrible one, I call it the Big Mac argument, where it's like, well, if you pay everybody $15 minimum wage, a Big Mac will cost $20. If there's somebody that's giving you that, and then you try to talk them out and be like, that's not true. Like in Denmark, they have a Big Mac that costs exactly the same amount as ours, and they have a minimum wage of about $22 an hour for people that are working at McDonald's. If they don't admit that they're like somewhat wrong or shaken after you've told them that, then you're wasting your time.
Right.
They're just going to give you. So you have to pick your battles here. Joe Manchin, he said that he doesn't want the $15 minimum wage in there because he thinks it should be like $11 an hour. When I saw yesterday, 70% of West Virginians want a raise to $15 an hour.
Because
he's going against his constituents entirely. Like 7 out of 10 disagree with him, and yet he doesn't care.
Well, that's because people like Joe Manchin, who have been in power for so long, have the ability to be in the ear of the person that draws the districts. And so you can gerrymander your way around things. And no matter how upset your constituents are, you can always draw that map to where all them pissed off people are just outside that district, and you just get this sliver of people that will vote for you. I do think that eventually we should do a show, and I'll have to do a lot of research on it, and that is how, now polling has never been 100%, but it has been way less accurate every year as time goes on. And so I don't know if that will affect gerrymandering in the future, because they base a lot of that off polls, how people voted before, that kind of thing. But it just seems like the more desperate the American people are, the faster the Democrats, especially the corporate Democrats, are at shafting everybody. And so I will take my victories where I get them. I'm happy Cenk came back. I'm happy that Neera Tanden lost. I'm happy that Bernie Sanders was willing to show teeth, even if he didn't get the opportunity. And so
and the squad and the 23 decided to write the letter. This is baby steps, but signs of life.
Yep. And Joe Manchin, they need to stop giving him so much power, because they're giving him the ability to basically make or break any legislation. And if you're Joe Biden and you cared about the left, which he doesn't, I would just come out and say, look, if you don't vote for how I want you to vote, if you don't want to vote for the people, If you're not going to be a Democrat, if you want to keep acting like a Republican, then you can run as a Republican because we're going to replace you.
That's what I would do, and I know I say this facetiously, but not really. Like, if he's really steadfast on it, you just go, okay, we're going to pass a minimum wage law that affects $15 minimum wage in every state except for yours, and you can have your $11 minimum wage, and then see what happens when your constituents literally tear you apart.
Yeah, or they'll move.
They'll pull. Yeah, you can move states. You won't be senator anymore. So that's fine. If you insist against going against your constituents, who 70% of them want a $15 minimum wage, and stats show, as I said on the show, in a family of 4 in West Virginia, working full-time, both parents, you still need $20 an hour minimum wage to live at the, a decent life, a normal life. So it's actually it's less than what you really need to have a comfortable life as a family of 4 in West Virginia, and you want to go to half of what you really need.
Right.
So, so if you want to go, Joe Manchin, let's just drag him. Let's drag him. And if you want to do that bill, it would never happen. But threaten it. Be like, okay, Joe, you want to do that? Fine. You can be the only state. Do the same thing with Kirsten Sinema. And just be like, oh, you guys want to vote against this stuff? We'll just give you the lower minimum wage and see how your state does and see what your constituents think of you.
Yep. I mean,
they'll tear you apart
There are some things, but for the left to actually come out and fight for them and use their power, they're going to have to be the bad guy. And here's the news, if you are listening, which you're not, but if any of you are, you're already the bad guy. Half the country thinks you're absolutely inept because of right-wing propaganda. What do you have to lose?
Exactly. Just lean into it. I don't care.
Yep.
Who cares what they say? They're going to call you socialist. They're going to call you communist. They're going to call you every name in the book, regardless of where you are. So just stick to your principles, lean into it. And let me tell you something. Here's a dirty little secret. Trump knows this. It's okay to get some bad attention in politics because you're still getting attention.
Yep.
You can absolutely rock the boat, and that's why the squad is so inept. They're not good at running the news cycle. Really, no one on the left is good at running the news cycle. Jimmy Dore's good at running the news cycle because he understands that you have to yell at people.
Anyway.
Right, exactly. But he single-handedly conjured all that magic for Medicare for All by himself, more or less, him and Justin Jackson, simply by being mouthy and just standing up for the right things. And that's what you can't be afraid to be loud. You can't be afraid to be angry and stand by your principles. If you want decorum, you're not going to get things done because you're not going to be in the news. Sorry, that's American politics nowadays. It's better to treat it like you're in politics if you're at a roast and you're roasting everyone around you and you're willing to drag people through the mud, and you will always have inherent power as long as you're willing to rock the boat enough so that it's in the news cycle and people are talking about you. Then you just drag them. That's the left does not realize what they have, the opportunity they have by just being loud and mouthy. And they can do it, and that's the only power that they have. We just need, maybe we need some more people in Congress. Maybe we just need the squad to grow some nuts.
Right. Honestly, what we need is at least 2 people in the Senate. That's what we need the most.
Yep.
2 people in the Senate, you get 2 true progressives in the Senate, you're golden. However, with how things are going, I'm pretty sure that we're going to lose seats.
Yeah,
midterms.
I'll be astounded if Reverend Warnock does not lose in Georgia. And it looks, I saw initially the predictions are we're going to lose at least 2 Senate seats, and we probably will also lose the House, but they're not sure by how much. Yeah. That's an abysmal failure on behalf of the Biden administration. This was a layup, and he laid it up into the bottom of the rim. It's so easy to just $2,000 stimulus. That's it. You probably win with just that at this point. You don't even have to raise the minimum wage. If you got $2,000 stimulus out right at the beginning, we probably wouldn't be worried about 2022. But they're literally doing nothing. And if you noticed, guys, I banged the gavel for them on March 1st on this show. And everybody on the left Kalinske was doing it, Figueredo, all of them are talking like they're actually seriously trying to lose. Anthony Zenkis, who's the guy I follow on Twitter, he was saying it too. He's like, dude, they're obviously trying to lose right now.
Well,
it looks like there's no
because
no
it's
hope
not.
at all.
They don't care if they win or lose. All these politicians have been in power forever. One, they're either A, going to die soon because they're super old and decrepit, or B, they're still going to retain their power because of, like I said, gerrymandering and that kind of thing. And so all they care about is just keep raking in that money. Yep. And so they don't care about their constituents. What you have to go after is younger people, like Joe Manchin, who's not young, but he's got tons of more elections coming up.
Yeah, he does.
And so you have to make them scared that their career will end. But I know that we're not going to drag this show on too long. Just wanted to say that there are some victories that the left has taken.
Yes.
It does seem like attitudes are starting to shift, which is great. And I know soon we will be doing some shows on some very boring things like bills. So, but there is some research involved because no bill is as simple as it sounds.
Yep. We'll talk about HR 1, which I haven't done my research. Neither has he. We'll talk about that soon. So keep fighting the good fight out there. Get on Joe Manchin, Kirsten Sinema, Jeannie Shaheen, Maggie Hassan, John Tester, Tom Carper, Chris Coons, and Angus King, all in the Senate. Their career should be over after this.
Bully them on Twitter, too.
Yeah, seriously, get on them. This is too important a vote, and it needs a spotlight shown on it, and they need to either vote correct from here on out or their careers need to be over. I would advocate for just ending their careers if we can. So let's get on them. We'll see you guys later. Thanks for tuning in tonight, and keep fighting the good fight.